It's time. 3, 2, 1. Start flexing.
I'm gonna get
The Warriors, one of Rockstar's many forgotten children, does not get the attention it deserves, many describing it as an underrated gem. Today, there aren't many games that are quite like the Warriors game, with beat 'em ups today consisting of arena fighters like Jump Force or more story-driven games like the Yakuza series. It's always sad to see when such great video games are left behind with fans craving for more as the years pass with no sequel. With the lack of games similar in atmosphere and gameplay, I've come back to the Warriors throughout the years. I will be the first to admit, I do have a lot of love for this game, and I will be trying my hardest to take a good look at what this game truly is, for better or for worse. We'll be taking a look at the game's history, story, and gameplay as we move forward. The video game The Warriors is based off the cult classic film and book The Warriors, which is based on Anubis by Xenophon. Anubis means march inland to the coast and is a tale of a Greek army's retreat from a disaster as they march back home to the coast. There are many Greek references that I will cover in more detail as they come up shortly. In the book written by Sol Yurick, called The Warriors, written in 1965, the main gang called the Coney Island Dominators are invited by the Delancey Thrones to an all-gang meeting. After arriving to the meeting, the Thrones leader is murdered and now the Dominators must make it back home through other gangs' territory after having lost track of their own leader. The book is quite darker than its film and game counterpart. The gang in the book murder people for looking at them wrong and are forceful with women. The film plot is similar but changes some key aspects, such as the game literally being called The Warriors, a tough gang from Coney Island. The film follows the Warriors, which includes Ajax, voiced and played by James Remar. He is a fan favorite who gets his name from the Greek mythological hero Ajax the Great, a strong warrior of large stature and courage. Ajax is the best fighter of the group, always looking to speak with his fists rather than with his words. He is abrasive, often speaking out with his cocky attitude. He will even speak out against other warriors. Despite this, he is loyal to the gang.
Who named you leader?
It was Cleon's choice, Swan's war chief.
Yeah? Well, right about now, Cleon's most likely got a nightstick shoved halfway up his ass.
Maybe we ought to talk about this later, huh?
What's wrong with right now? I want to be warlord.
Make you move?
Hey, Ajax, lighten up.
Big boy, Swan's war chief.
We better stick together.
Hey, you guys! Train's right over there! Come on, let's go!
Let's move.
Ajax was originally going to be a 7-foot-tall giant, but James Remar earned the role by lifting up the conference table at an audition. Cleon, voiced and played by Dorsey Wright, the co-founder and the leader of the Warriors, has great leadership skills. Cleon's name is of Greek origin. It's a boy's name and means glory. Cleon is level-headed but will not let others question him and will easily go against any other gang that disrupts his gang. He is able to bring up the Warriors from a small-time outfit to a larger gang in little over a year. Cochise, a Native American name meaning hardwood, voiced and played by David D. Harris, is a solid soldier and is chill oftentimes. Cowboy, voiced by Kurt Basio and played by Tom McKitterick, is always seen with his hat. He gets knocked out the most. Fox, voiced and played by Thomas G. Waits, is the scout of the group. Being skinny, he makes up for it by being street smart and cautious. He seeks to avoid fights if possible and is fairly passive. Rembrandt, played by Marcelino Sanchez and voiced by Andy Senior Jr. in the game. Rembrandt got his name from the famous artist Rembrandt and is the graffiti artist of the group. He is also the weakest fighter of the group. Snow, or Snowball, voiced by Siku Campbell and played by Brian Tyler. He is the quiet giant who is cool even when things get bad. He is rational and intelligent and can be seen as the third in command. Swan, voiced and played by Michael Beck, has great leadership skills and is calm, quiet, and always serious, which made him second in command. His name possibly comes from the Greek tale called Luetta and the Swan, where Zeus is disguised as a swan. He is a great fighter and is able to lead the Warriors back home after the meeting. Vermin, played by Terrence Michos and voiced by Jolo Trujillo, yes, that dude from Superbad, is the other co-founder of the Warriors. He is seen cracking jokes but is also pessimistic at times. The Warriors then go to an all-gang meeting held by Cyrus from the Rifts. Cyrus is shot and the Warriors are blamed. The Warriors now must make it back home to Coney Island, surrounded by enemies. The plot of the film was covered in the game, so we'll go into more detail when it comes up. Throughout the game, you'll see other gangs which I'll be briefly explaining as we go along. The Gramercy Rifts are the largest and strongest gang in New York, having a network that other gangs are a part of. They are led by the cult-like leader Cyrus, who gets his name from the prince that hires the Greek mercenaries in the tale of Anibasis. His right-hand man is Masai, and the group wears robes as their outfit. The Rogues, the main antagonists of the film, set up the Warriors to be hunted by every gang in New York. They are seen wearing leather. The Van Cortlandt Rangers have striped shirts and are rivals to the Moonrunners. The Moonrunners are graffiti artists sporting silver jackets. The Orphans, a weak, small-time gang, wear green shirts. The Boppers wear shiny vests and hang out at discos. The Hurricanes, a Puerto Rican gang, are family-based. The fan favorite, the Baseball Fairies, sport baseball uniforms with face paint. They are often seen carrying bats and don't speak. The Destroyers, the game's original gang, are seen wearing denim waistcoats and are also in Coney Island. Some members of the Destroyers left this group in order to join the Warriors. Cleon and the current leader, Virgil, were meant to run the Destroyers together. The Electric Eliminators sport yellow jackets and are known for breakdancing. The Hi-Hats are artists and dress as mimes to show their dedication to the art. Despite their appearance, they are more than willing to fight. The Jones Street Boys are wearing yellow and black striped shirts and are preppy kids from wealthy families who do this for fun. The name can be seen as a play on the phrase keeping up with the Joneses. The Lizzies, an all-female gang, wear tie-dye undershirts and can be seen as a reference to the Greek myth of the Sirens or the Greek females known as the Amazons. The Panzers, who get their name from the German word for armor, dress in military outfits. The Punks wear overalls and are a tough gang and are good in a fight. The Saracens wear black tank tops and necklaces. They are smart and get a lot of respect from other gangs. The Greeks refer to the people who live in desert areas as Saracens. They are one of the few gangs the Warriors get along with. The Satan Mothers Motorcycle Club, also known as the Satan Mothers, are a ruthless gang. They dress like bikers and are quite powerful. The Savage Huns are a large and skilled gang wearing hats and green martial arts shirts. Rockstar accidentally confused the Savage Huns for the Mongols, so the in-game characters are dressed like the Mongols, but are called the Savage Huns. The Turnbull ACs, a mixed-race skin-headed group, are violent and not to be messed with. They are not organized like the Riffs, but are incredibly tough. AC possibly stands for Anarcho-Communist or AV Crew. We'll focus on the game from this point on. Just thought I would mention its history and give some context to the world. The game is a beat-em-up adventure game where you must beat up enemies in large quantities, exploring different areas of New York and seeking to make your small gang into a respected larger gang by playing as different warriors along the way. The video game The Warriors began development in 2002 by Rockstar Toronto, previously known as Rockstar Canada. The team sought to get the feel of the late 70s New York down by doing research on the area. They worked with Astroland, the people at the Wonder Wheel, and with Dick Ziggin, the owner of the Coney Island Museum. In the 70s, New York went bankrupt, and many buildings in the area were trashed. New York was far different from what it is today, especially at night. This is best seen in an interview with Geronimo Berra.
70s New York was a much different place than it is now. It was a lot darker, a lot grittier, a lot more dangerous at night. So we did a lot of research for the environments, but also the street furniture, the garbage, the dilapidated buildings, and I think we represent that sense very well in our game.
The world and the atmosphere of the environment engrosses you into the game, just like the film. The atmosphere is just as part of the story, like the Warriors are. The game is always at night, besides the ending of the game, where you see the sun for the first and only time for your playthrough. I always wanted to learn more about this world, but much is underdeveloped, despite Rockstar's attempt to fill in some of these holes, such as gangs being underdeveloped like the Electric Eliminators or the Panzers, with little known about them. It also doesn't make sense, as some of the members don't look like hardened criminals, such as Rembrandt. Is it real hard to get by working regular jobs? If they do have jobs, do they work in the day and do crime at night? Maybe it's better off that this is left unanswered, as answering too much can stop us from filling in the gaps. The PSP port was developed by Rockstar Leeds, and the group worked closely with Rockstar Toronto for the port. The video game The Warriors was released in 2005 for the PS2 and Xbox, with the PSP released in 2007. Rockstar Toronto incorporated a memorable soundtrack with classics such as Nowhere to Run by Arnold McCuller, In the City by Joe Walsh, and Shake It by Ian Matthews. There are also many original songs made specifically for the game, being synth-heavy. These in-game soundtracks are quite ominous and atmospheric. The majority of this game is a new story, unlike other movie-based games, where it only goes through the movie's story in a video game format. There are 23 missions in total, with 18 being new and not seen in the movie. That is more than half of the missions which are new stories, leaving only 5 missions out of movie missions. I have to say, doing so leaves the game with a fresh new feel, especially since the movie has been out for 26 years until the game is released. I will be going through the story as it occurs in time, rather than when it occurs in the game, as I would need to be going back to the past and current time in order to tell the story if I did it that way. These first missions we'll be discussing are flashback missions and give details on how members of the Warriors came to end up in the gang. April 16th, 1978. The story first takes place before the Warriors were even a gang yet. The mission takes place a year before the first main mission in the game, and before Cyrus of the Gramercy Rifts wishes to unite the gangs in order to run New York. Starting with the narration from the radio DJ, which is present throughout the game and movie, both Vermin and Cleon complain about Virgil, the leader of the Destroyers, an original gang not seen in the movie. The duo are told Virgil wants to speak with them about a drug deal by Lemmy. They need to get the drugs from LC to complete the drug deal with the Satan Mothers. Virgil seems to know something we don't about the drug deal, which will be revealed later. After arriving at LC's hangout, LC reveals that the police have a stakeout, so he'll need Cleon and Vermin to break it up. After trashing police cars, starting bum riots, and beating some workers, the police are forced to end the stakeout, as too much crime in the area means police force are too occupied to continue. Cleon and Vermin are given the product and head to the location in order to do the drug deal with the Satan Mothers. Virgil was meant to be there for the deal, but does not show up, so Cleon and Vermin will need to do the deal on their own. Cleon, suspicious of this, goes to check the bag out, but before he can, the Satan Mothers show up. The Satan Mothers are also disappointed Virgil isn't there. The Satan Mothers check the product and learn it's fake, and Cleon and Vermin are forced into Tack's warehouse to run away. They are forced to fight Tiny and Spider and knock them out. They head back to the Destroyers' clubhouse, angry at the betrayal. It is revealed Virgil became more and more paranoid and set them up in order to get rid of them. Cleon declares that they started a war. He and Vermin left to start the Warriors less than a month later. May 16th, Cleon and Vermin are now Warriors, sporting red leather vests. They are going to participate in a King of the Hill match with competition from other gangs and the unaffiliated Swan and Cowboy. Swan and Cowboy were also once Destroyers, leaving before Cleon and Vermin, but not before warning them of Virgil. After the match, Swan and Cowboy are declared the winners of the match. Swan and Cowboy are approached to become lieutenants in the new Warriors gang. Swan is unsure at first, but agrees to join as long as Cowboy comes too. After getting their new vests, Swan and Cowboy will still need to officially earn their vests by shaking down some local stores in Coney, which is currently Destroyers' turf. After shaking down the stores and kicking the Destroyers out, Warriors need their own hangout. LC has his own hangout alongside other junkies, so the Warriors head over to kick them out. LC runs to the roof after seeing his former allies march in. The Destroyer junkies are defeated and the gang confronts LC on the roof. High and out of his mind, LC thinks he has a plane to catch, jumping off the roof and hurting his leg. The Warriors now have the foundation to move up the ladder. June 15th, the Warriors have grown since we last saw them, with much more soldiers than before. Ajax and Snow need to finish the final part of their initiation in order to become Warriors. They will need to survive the pen, which involves them taking a beating from Warriors who have already earned their vest. After earning their vest, the new Warriors were invited to a party by Cleon, but Ajax declines as he needs to go see some girls first. Snow comes along. Meeting up with the girl at work in the Destroyers' turf, Ajax and Snow are ambushed by the Destroyers and their vests are stolen. Ajax then marches towards a couple of the Destroyers' lieutenants to find their vests, getting Snow his vest back. After destroying a pawn shop in order to get to Alcy's apartment, the duo beat Alcy inside. Ajax then gets his vest back from the girl inside. The two leave the apartment with a large group of Destroyers just outside. Ajax and Snow make it back to the Warriors after being chased by the large group. The Destroyers are too scared to fight the full group of Warriors and retreat. Cleon then reprimands the duo for starting trouble on the first night as Warriors. July 22nd, Fox wants to join the Warriors as a scout. The other Warriors doubt him due to him being skinnier than the other Warriors. Fox must now go into the Savage Hunt's territory in Chinatown to hurt them where it hurts, their pockets. Ajax suggests that Vermin goes along with Fox and Cleon agrees, making the pair wear shirts insulting the Huns. After arriving in Chinatown, their shirts attract the attention of a group of Huns. After the Huns are dealt with, the pair destroys several of the Huns' stalls. After destroying the stalls, a larger group of Huns rush the pair, which the pair must now deal with. Fox spots the accountant as he is quite knowledgeable on the other gangs. The accountant is carrying a ledger which holds financial information on the Huns. After telling the accountant without being seen, they beat up the accountant and take the ledger. They then notice the errand boy who has all of the Huns' gambling markers and chase him to the gang's leader, Ghost. The Huns and Ghost himself are all defeated. The gambling markers are then forcibly taken from the errand boy. Afterwards, more Huns come to confront the pair. The pair then rushes to the subway to meet up with the other Warriors. Fox is then able to trade in his shirt for a vest. August 18th, Cochise wants to join the Warriors. Since he's originally from Harlem, the Warriors tell him to join the Boppers. Cochise won't take no for an answer, so Cleon tells him he needs to get a size 9 hat from a Bopper. Cochise heads over to the Boppers' territory. Snow is sent with Cochise as they are worried about Cochise's safety. After beating up several boppers, they are still unable to find a size 9 hat. So Cochise and Snow head over to a few clubs in order to find out who in the boppers would have a size 9 hat. After interrogating a few of the boppers' lieutenants, they find out Big Mo will have a size 9 hat. They find out he might be at a strip club called the Black Cat, but find out he isn't there and is given his location by a stripper. They then find Big Mo and engage in a fight with the man. Big Mo is defeated, and Cochise and Snow head back to Coney Island, successful in getting a size 9 hat. Cochise is now a warrior. April 13th, 1979. It has been nearly a year since Cleon and Vermin left the destroyers. Cyrus is explaining his idea to unite the gangs. Cyrus is then shot by Luther from the Rogues. We then cut back to 3 months earlier, April 13th. We go back to the Warriors, Cleon and Vermin, who are going to see if Rembrandt, an artist, has what it takes to join the Warriors. Rembrandt needs to prove that he could handle himself in a fight, so he's sent to the fight pen to fight some bums. After practicing on some bums, Cleon sends some current warriors to fight Rembrandt. Rembrandt is able to take the beating and heads back to the hangout to get his vest. Rembrandt looks banged up from his earlier fight, so Vermin takes Rembrandt into Coney to get him fixed up and teach him. Rembrandt learns to steal and mug others. He is also sent to see a dealer who sells Flash, which I assume is painkillers or some other drugs that come in a pill bottle that can be snorted. The first mission is a tutorial sequence and is able to explain the basics of gameplay. Back at the hangout, a group of destroyers throw a Molotov through the window. Cleon leads the group to round up the other warriors, Ajax, Cowboy, Snow, Fox, and then finally, Cochise and Swan. It's April 14th and still dark out. The destroyers are throwing a celebration party at their clubhouse. Cleon then sends Rembrandt along with Vermin, Cowboy, and Ajax to tag the destroyer's turf. After tagging various burners throughout the destroyer's turf and beating some soldiers, the group heads over to the destroyer's hangout to tag their main burner. When they are finished tagging the burner, Virgil is angry at the warriors who have snuck in and tagged his turf. Cyrus and Masai speak about Cyrus's vision. This is basically the end of the tutorial sequence, as this is the first mission that gives you a taste for what future missions will consist of. The missions are open, but in an enclosed area. It does get quite noticeable later on as you progress, only being able to go so far before being blocked off. April 30th. Vermin, Snow, and Ash are going to the Black Cat when the train stops due to a power outage. A riot has broken out, so our group participates in the riot, looting and destroying with other gangs in the area. Riot cops appear to stop the riot, and the group starts to head back to the subway. On the way, they are chased by the Baseball Furies, who are currently beating up some members of the Rogues. The Warriors make it back to the subway in time, and it's revealed that Luther left his members behind after the riot. May 19th. The Warriors listening to the radio hear that the orphans took them out, which isn't true. Arriving at their territory, the Warriors beat all the orphans they see, even at the clinic they hang out at. Jesse, who was hiding inside the clinic, is interrogated to find the other orphans. They then head over to the orphans' hangout. After beating the orphans there, they head over to the leader's location, where he is working on his car. The leader slowly ran, so the Warriors smashed his car and all the other orphans, then went back home to Coney. May 20th. Cleon sends Rembrandt to finish a burner out back and finds a flyer for the Shoho Showdown, which he signs up for. Rembrandt is reprimanded for signing up without telling Cleon. Rembrandt, Snow, Cowboy, and Ajax all head to Shoho for the showdown, but the Hi-Hats interrupt and the gang ends up on the roof trying to leave the area. They are able to knock out the Hi-Hats leader, Chatterbox, and are chased by the Hi-Hats into the Hi-Hats hangout, which they trash. Afterwards, they head home and Chatterbox swears revenge on the Warriors. May 25th. Sanchez, who is a part of the Hurricanes, owes the Warriors some money, so Ajax, Cochise, Snow, and Rembrandt are sent to collect. The Warriors head to the Stripes and Solids where Sanchez is and beat all the Hurricanes inside. Sanchez then flees and the group splits up, until he reaches Diego and Vargas' apartment. The Warriors meet up and beat everyone inside and confront Sanchez on the roof where he falls onto a car. June 4th, the Warriors are hanging out at their hangout and the skull is thrown through the window. It's revealed to be the Hi-Hats. The Warriors end up in the Coney amusement park and rumble with the Hi-Hats, who then retreat into the amusement ride. Making their way through the ride, the Warriors end up in a fight with Chatterbox, who is killed in the end. Cyrus and Masai speak about their visions. June 21st, the Warriors are informed there is trouble in their turf and head over to find one of their stores trashed. Finding out it's the destroyers, Cleon sends Ash out to scout. The Warriors then defend their stores after collecting protection money. Cleon is then informed that Ash may be in trouble. Cleon and Swan head over to find out Ash has been killed and they are trapped inside the lot, but are able to escape before being killed themselves. That same night, Cleon plans to take out the destroyers for good, The Warriors divide up and trash the Destroyer's operations to draw out soldiers and beat them bit by bit. The Warriors meet back up and force their way into the hangout, then beat everyone inside, besides the leader Virgil and LC who flee. Cleon and Vermin follow LC to Virgil's hideout. Cleon and Vermin get their revenge against Virgil and burn him to death, ending the Destroyers. June 30th. Snow and Fox are in Pelham looking for information on the Rifts meeting when a cop is wasted. So Cleon sends Cochise, Vermin, and Cowboy up to Pelham to help out Snow and Fox. It is revealed that the rogues were responsible for the cop being wasted. The Warriors arrive to see the cops rounding up all nearby gangs and the gate to the street from the subway is locked. The Warriors throw a member of the Turnbull ACs into the oncoming train to open up the gate, then head over to the local Rifts club. The Rifts members tell them to go through the sewers to find Snow and Fox, who were knocked out by Birdie. Cowboy takes the two back to the hangout and gets reinforcements. Ajax comes back with reinforcements and they are able to beat all the Turnbull ACs and the Red Devil. The group finds out Birdie is at the local refinery. The Warriors confront him and Birdie pulls out a gun but is defeated by the Warriors. Cyrus is informed that the Turnbulls want revenge, but Cyrus tells him that the Turnbulls can't and to keep tabs on the Warriors. July 3rd. Cleon tells Cowboy and Cochise to head down to help the Saracens, as they've been having problems with the Jones Street Boys. Cowboy and Cochise meet up with the Saracens. The Jones Street Boys have a deal with some crooked cops and have been giving the Saracens a hard time. Cowboy and Cochise are told to plant stolen goods in the Jones Street Boys' hideout in the crooked cops' trunk. The Saracens could put in a good word for them with the Rifts. Cowboy and Cochise get the stolen goods and plant it in the trunk. The duo then plants the goods in the JSB's hideout and inform the crooked cops of the JSB's holding out goods from them. The crooked cops arrest the JSB's leader, and the two detectives show up hearing that the crooked cops had an arrangement with the JSB's. After the detectives find the stolen goods in their trunk, the crooked cops are arrested. The duo meets with the Saracens, who thank the Warriors and will put in a good word for them. July 10th. Cleon wants to take the Warriors all city, so he sends Rembrandt, Snow, and Fox to tag up some new train cars. Cleon takes the crew to meet up with Scopes, who was saved in the Shoho Showdown, and is a rider himself. The Rifts hand out invitations to the meeting. Scope tells the Warriors the plan to tag all the trains in the train yard, which is controlled by the Moonrunners. Fox is a scout and takes off to find the other trains. The Moonrunners confront the two and are wasted. With security also in the train yard, the Warriors take out the radio to stop the communication. After taking out the radio, Fox informs them of the other trains that he found in the yard. Dealing with Moonrunners and security along the way, the trains get tagged by the duo. They meet back up with Fox on the roof of the mechanics bay, who informs them of the last two trains' location. Scopes then warns the Warriors that the radio they destroyed was a direct line to the police and now they are coming to the train yard. After bombing the last two trains, the Warriors leave the train yard. Rembrandt and Scopes are then seen watching Rembrandt's work go all city. July 12th. The Warriors are invited to a meeting the Rifts are holding with all the gangs in New York. Cleon explains to the other Warriors that are coming on the trip the guidelines of the meeting. We see the Warriors and other gangs heading up to the meeting location after arriving. Cyrus gives his speech about uniting the gangs to control New York. We see the scene we saw earlier in the story, where Cyrus is shot by Luther from the Rogues. Fox saw Luther shoot Cyrus and is almost shot, but Luther is blinded by the stadium lights. Cleon goes to see the body of Cyrus, but Luther blames the Warriors for shooting as Fox saw him shoot Cyrus. Cleon is beaten to death by the Rifts and the other Warriors are able to escape into the graveyard. Ajax is seen questioning Swan's position as leader. They then leave as Rembrandt marks the spot. The Warriors, shortly after, are split up by the police. The Rifts put out the word that the Warriors are wanted, dead or alive. The radio broadcasts for the Rifts and every gang in New York wants the Warriors dead. Swan and Snow end up in the Turnbull AC's territory. Now they need to find the other Warriors. Swan and Snow find Ajax surrounded by Turnbulls, so they save him, and we hear another group of Turnbulls describe what happened at the meeting. After sneaking past Turnbulls, then going through their hangout, they find Vermin outnumbered by Turnbulls. After saving Vermin, our group of Warriors sneak past some more Turnbulls to find the other group of Warriors fighting a group of Turnbulls. When the fight is over, our group is chased twice by the Turnbulls bus on the way to the train. They celebrate reaching the bus and hope to make it straight back to Coney Island. It is now the early hours of July 13th. The Rogues are now searching for the Warriors. The train the Warriors were on was stopped by a fire and the Warriors are forced off the train. The Warriors run into the orphans who are going to let the Warriors pass, but Mercy comes out asking for a Warrior's vest. Now the orphans demand the Warriors take off their vests so they could pass through, but the Warriors refuse. The Warriors are now determined to march right through the orphans' territory. The orphans then run off to get reinforcements and the Warriors beat the orphans. The Warriors are split up by the police, with some being arrested, knocked out, or hiding. Swan and Snow round up the Warriors, avoiding the cops and dealing with other gangs while doing so. They find Mercy wandering around and grab her. The orphans show back up, but are scared off by a Molotov blowing up a car. The warriors then take mercy and head to the train. The rogues are revealed to be heading towards the warriors' location. After being on the train for a while, the train is stopped and the warriors are forced to wait for it to start back up. While waiting, the group is forced to run, and Fox is killed in a scuffle with the cop. He is thrown into an oncoming train. Vermin, Rembrandt, and Cochise are able to make it onto the next train to Union Square. The rest of the warriors end up outside and are chased by the baseball Furies. The warriors end up in a park and split up. Ajax and Cowboy split off together, but Cowboy was unable to keep running, so the pair started fighting. Cowboy is knocked out and Ajax knocks out the other baseball Furies. Ajax rumbles with some baseball Furies and wins, but more show up and the odds look bad for Ajax. Swan and Snow run to Ajax's aid and defeat the opposition despite the odds. They are then confronted by the baseball Furies leader, Cobb, in the rotunda. Cobb is defeated and the warriors head over to the subway, but Ajax notices a girl on the bench. Ajax stays behind with the girl, who is an undercover cop, and handcuffs Ajax. Swan sends back Cowboy and Snow to help out Ajax, but Ajax is already arrested and surrounded by cop cars. Vermin, Cochise, and Rembrandt arrive at Union Square waiting for the other warriors until they find an all-female gang, the Lizzies. The warriors hang out with the Lizzies for a while. The Lizzies believe that the warriors killed Cyrus and started shooting at them with the gun they had. The warriors escape and Rembrandt tells them every gang must be hunting them, as they were blamed for Cyrus's death. All of the warriors meet back up at Union Square, where Swan was being followed by the gang, the Punks. After beating and ambushing the Punks, the warriors head back home and discuss what Cyrus said. The Riffs are informed of the true killer of Cyrus. After getting off the train, the warriors are chased by the rogues in their vehicle. The warriors then lead the rogues to the beach to confront them. Swan then beats Luther one-on-one. After Luther is defeated by Swan, Luther pulls out a gun. A battle ensues where Swan and Snow throw bottles at Luther, till throwing a knife into his arm. The rogues are defeated and the Riffs arrive on the beach. Riffs are here for the rogues, not the warriors, like Swan thought. Aside from the Riff says that the warriors are good, and Swan then declares themselves the best. Reports on the radio declares that the warriors were innocent, then the cast walk off into the sunset. I quite like Rockstar's original story, which is why I'm glad that was the main focus of the game. I could only see them doing so much with sticking with the film's story. I mean, we saw it all covered in the last few missions of the game. They could have been lazy and just did the whole entire film's story, but they didn't. We are able to see how each of the main warriors are able to get their colors. The film has no backstories for these characters, so this at least gives them some more. The trials the gang must go through in order to be invited to the meeting that turns out to be nothing in the end. Some of these missions are better than others, I will admit, but each mission really holds its own. You do many of the same things in each mission of the game. Steal, fight, and run around, but it never feels repetitive. Each location feels different, even though Rockstar could have easily phoned it in. The combat never feels boring, at least to me, and each different set piece, whether it be the Red Devil or Stripes and Solids, feels different. Each character has their own time, some more than others. We get to see Cochise, Cowboy, and Rembrandt all in action, even though we don't see them that much in the film. If you have a favorite character, you'd be able to play as them at least once throughout the story. The story can be hypocritical at times, such as not killing the destroyers, which you can literally do way before they kill Ash. Also, wasting cops is apparently a horrible thing for a gang to do, but you can literally do this as much as you want, with no repercussions. The film part of the game does its part. Rockstar did have to take some liberties gameplay-wise, such as fighting the orphans during the game, even though that never happened in the film. In the story, some of the same plots are used, such as being split up or being chased like in the movies. I never noticed this trend throughout my first playthrough of the game, but after replaying this game so many times, it's something I've come to notice. The gameplay is the most important, as despite the limits of combat, it still is so much fun to jump back in and rumble. Having light attacks, heavy attacks, and grabs, you'll be able to do some damage with just these 3 moves. Combos are also possible, but just consist of mixing up light and heavy attacks. Nothing crazy like juggling people mid-air. There are other moves you can do like hard grabs or charging enemies. You'll be able to use weapons whenever you come across them. Some gangs will have their own unique moves too, like the Savage Hunt and all of their skill. The Boppers share their moves with Cleon, but both are unique compared to the vast number of characters in the game. Some grab combos with the other gangs are unique too, like the Turnbulls being quite impactful like themselves. There are also some unique power moves standing up like the hi-hats or power grabs like the Punks. You can throw enemies to clear space if you're surrounded, or even slam them against walls. While in a grab, you can change positions and do a group attack causing massive damage if you could pull it off. You can perform some more cinematic moves using power moves which are based off what the characters did in the film. The camera can use work, especially in co-op. This can be most apparent in chase sequences as you can never see what's in front of you. You have to rely on button prompts, hold the sprint button or spam a button. Despite the camera difficulties, the chase sequences can be fun when done right, as long as you don't mess them up several times in a row. As a war chief, you are able to give commands to other members in your squad. Using these callouts, you can tell them to fight, hide, or loot. Your AI companions never get in the way or do anything moronic most times. Only on rare occasions will they. You can loot stores, steal radios, and mug people in order to get money in your pocket. This currency is used for some objectives in the game, but mostly for dealers scattered throughout the map. Mugging and stealing car radios consists of using the left analog stick to find the correct vibration on your controller. Some of these you'll need to fill up the bar before your opponent does. The same feature is used for fighting against being cuffed by the police, except you need to avoid the vibration. Lockpicking is also an option. If you're able to get all the locks in the darkened area, you won't set off the store alarm. Some characters have a larger area to lockpicking than others. You can get spray cans, flash, health, their in-game drugs, and later on knives once you have unlocked it. After buying a product, you can waste these dealers for your money back and free product. It can be dangerous to fight these dealers with weak characters as they have high health and can pull knives. You also get ripped off by these dealers and need to waste them for your money back. You can mug them, but it's hard to do so fighting them is easier and faster. My main gripe with the dealers is the need to kill them so often. There should have been some sort of penalty for doing so, as there's no reason to not get your money back. The dealers could change positions on the map, raise the prices, or not even respond if you're hardcore. As in the game, you can see the dealer walk all the way back again to get beaten by the warriors. If you're able to beat on enemies long enough, you build your rage meter, which makes you invincible, gives you new power moves, and causes more damage. This rage mode highlights the main flaw with the game, giving players too much power. Rage power moves instantly kill the majority of characters unless their health pool is increased. You are also able to instantly kill with knives or nearly insta-kill. Later on, you are given the ability to handcuff opponents, which completely takes them out of the fight. Getting full health from flash use makes you feel more like a super soldier rather than a member of a gang from New York. I completely limit myself on the use of these abilities whenever I play this game from now on, as it feels just cheap spamming attacks or insta-killing opponents. Throughout the game, you'll be able to fight a variety of opponents, mostly consisting of different gangs and police. Gangs vary in difficulty, such as the orphans being weak and the turnbull ACs being tough to fight. The tougher enemies are by far the funnest to fight. Able to take a beating and reverse your moves, it gives you a reason to use all the tools at your disposal. Several of these gangs do have leaders that you have to confront throughout the game. These boss fights consist of either throwing bottles at them or fighting them one-on-one. Regular fights are the funnest boss fights in the game, where you have to go toe-to-toe with your enemy. The lackluster fights are those where you have to throw bottles. When you remove the fighting and make the game slow down from throwing bottles or sneaking, it really brings down the game. Some of these boss fights can be annoying, like Virgil as he throws bottles and sneaks in the same boss mission. You can also be seen spamming attacks, which is annoying. Some of the fun boss fights are the ones where you have to fight Ghost or Big Mo. Ghost is basically just a strong soldier who could take one hell of a beating. You could grab him and rage on him and he'll still keep on kicking. His moves are quite devastating as well. Big Mo is kind of similar, but your objective is to beat him and take off his hat. If you are able to knock off his hat and put it on, you are able to do some dance moves to get some extra flash. Now, talking about police on the other hand, they are consistently difficult to take care of. They have high health and have weapons. It is easy to lose to them when overwhelmed, so actually running away is useful. Fighting and beating them also has its uses, as when unlocked, you can pick up cuffs and cuff keys. You'll also be able to hide in the shadow patches and can instantly kill enemies in the shadows. As I mentioned before, when hiding is the main focus of the game, it is some of the lowest parts of the game. Bringing the game to the crawl, the game should have focused on the combat. It serves its purpose when used in short, like running away from a gang or the police. The game does a good job of changing locations and making each one feel new. The locations are anything but forgettable, such as the Red Devil and their band, the Orphans Hangout, or the Rotunda. Many of these locations also have destructible environments. You can throw chairs or even toss enemies through tables if you want. I could easily have seen this game grow as generic streets and bars that could be interchanged. After completing most missions, you'll be sent back to your hangout in Coney. You'll be able to see your in-game stats, replay missions, or play Rumble mode. You can also train for extra boosts and explore Coney and complete bonus objectives to unlock abilities. The training feature is real plain, where you have to spam a button prompt and a time limit or complete combos on a punching bag. The workouts do get difficult towards the end of the available workouts. In the hangout, you could also listen to the radio and see what's up with the other gangs.
In other news, The electric eliminators are holding their sure-to-be out-of-sight, high-powered break and electric boogie down competition, hosted by the one and only Superfly Man Scopes. In an open invitation to any crew that wants in, but just make sure things don't get too hot. The Gramercy Riffs will be there to cool down any cats that get the itch to scratch.
Or talk to other warriors about what happened in the previous mission.
Gave up the chase.
You hear about Soho? Me and Snow must have labeled 100 of them fucking clowns. Bunch of chicken shits.
We better keep our guard up. There's a lot of gangs breathing down our necks now.
That'll make you
I love the little details in the games. There are more than a few in this game. You can hear bums and people talking to themselves or passed out on the ground.
You got any cash, man? Some makers or something? Seriously, man?
Citizens are able to speak to one another and hang out. If you are to commit crimes in front of a citizen, they can attempt to call the cops or a local gang, but you could stop them. People also shout from the roofs and tell you to stop or they'll call the police. Sometimes if a man sees you messing with a woman, they will stop what they're doing and run to help them.
Hey, fucker! You like hitting girls, asshole!
There are also some gang members that are scouts and can alert the other members if you are seen before stopping them. This all combines with the scenery in New York to provide a great atmosphere. The reason you would want to replay missions is to achieve the high score for a given mission or to complete bonus objectives. Doing actions in the game such as fighting gives you points for the missions, with some giving you more like throwing enemies through a window. The high score isn't shown, so achieving this will involve mindlessly destroying things and hurting citizens until you feel comfortable with the score. I think they should have just removed the high score feature from the game. I understand it's meant to be similar to the arcade beat 'em ups. It's just frustrating to find out you were just under the high score and now need to replay the whole mission to achieve the correct score. I usually spent way longer in a level to where it started to get boring because I didn't want to miss out on the high score. Bonus objectives mostly consist of tagging over enemies' burners, but sometimes you'll need to achieve other objectives. This can be wrecking a certain number of enemies in a large group, destroying something, or stealing all radios in an area. These bonus objectives are never really difficult to do, often consisting of spraying tags. Spraying as a bonus objective is marking a W over an enemy's burner. You need to trace over the yellow line with your left analog stick. You are rewarded for doing it in one shot without messing up. Whenever you do any of the large burners, it traces the general outline of the burner. In the mission where Rembrandt is tagging the trains, you have to copy the warriors on the outline. The characters in the game have stats and each one of them has their own set of skills, such as Rembrandt being able to tag easier but not being able to mug others efficiently. Some of these bonuses can be fun to achieve, such as wrecking a number of destroyers in the Ajax Flashback mission. It gets progressively tougher as the number of soldiers you have to wreck increases as you complete the first bonus of wrecking 10 soldiers. You'll get overwhelmed by the vast number of soldiers, so it's difficult to focus on a singular enemy. Completing the high score and bonus objectives for a mission will get you extra characters unlocked for Rumble mode. Completing bonus objectives in Coney will give you new abilities like brass knuckles, cuffs, or more flash. These objectives are nothing to write home about, like fighting a gang that comes out to Coney or fishing out bad dealers. You also can basically do a new game plus of replay all the missions, but it's just sad that there's no official way to do so with all the abilities you acquire. Rumble mode is available in the Hangout as well. This serves as an arcade mode, a place to fight as any gang you want in any place you want. You can create your own gang and play a variety of different game modes. Characters and modes can be unlocked by completing missions and objectives. This is the majority of the time what I come back to. It's not replaying the story, as there isn't much to replay if you 100% the game. It's the gameplay, like I keep on stating, that brings you back, because that's what truly makes this game. Finally, being able to put the warriors in their place as the orphans, making your own gang and destroying all other gangs is just pure fun. Fighting as the last soldier against the full gang as your last character progressively sees damage. What makes this game so easy to come back to are when the odds are against you and there's chaos. In the mission with Cochise, you visit the Red Devil in order to rumble with the Turnbulls. They have a high health and can swarm you easily, beating you as Cochise. Fighting tooth and nail while the rest of your gang are having their own battles. Cops surrounding you, beating you nearly to death and having to escape just in the nick of time. One great mission is fighting the Baseball Furies. It's a tough battle. I would even call it one of the toughest battles in the game. All the Furies have a high health and carry baseball bats to beat you to death with. They just keep on coming at you, giving you no room to breathe. You are able to mug them for flash, and I think this is a true cause for their strength. They're probably just addicted to drugs, giving them a high pain tolerance and causing them to grunt rather than speak. The Punk's battle can be tough, especially when you have to protect Mercy. Protecting Mercy on this mission is annoying and will majority of the time be the reason you fail it. They should have just removed this from the mission altogether. A great mission is where Rembrandt must spray all of the clean trains in the train yard. As the mission progresses, more Moonrunners and cops appear fighting each other in large numbers. Fighting is and will always be the funner option, so I guess Ajax was right about always wanting to stop and fight. After completing the game, you unlock Unleash the Fury, where you can replay the game as the Baseball Furies. The second unlock is the Warriors arcade game. No, not that trash. The arcade game is a homage to classic beat-em-ups like Street of Rage. In the game, you need to save Mercy as she's been kidnapped by the Rifts. It is fun and short, a little piece of sweet retro nostalgia. It does get a bit annoying when enemies walk off screen. They usually just charge you and hit you running back off screen. It is a nice touch. Rockstar really has been putting in a lot of effort in their games, even in the early 2000s. I also put in the time to beat the entire game in co-op with my buddy Maurice. The camera is horrible in co-op, almost unforgivable. When the cameras are merged, it can be hard to tell positioning when fighting. When the camera is split, it doesn't give you enough room to see much. In co-op, we also seem to take more damage and deal even less. I'm not sure if this is because we skip bonus objectives to increase our own damage or not. Like any other game you can play with your friends, it's fun. You're able to mess with each other in chase events or even just fight each other randomly. My personal favorite being telling Maurice to spam X rather than to hold the trigger. It also saves time running at co-op as you are able to divide and conquer, completing objectives faster than you could solo. You are also able to play together in Rumble mode, but some of the modes needed a friend to play. Like No Mercy, you can only play this with another person. The other modes are just too easy to solo, like King of the Hill or Battle Royale. It's just too easy to throw the AI off, so you need a bit of human opposition to make it fair. The Unleash the Fury mode doesn't change anything significant to the story. You're able to play as the Furies rather than the Warriors throughout the story. It simply replaces the Warriors models with the Furies. Whenever you're supposed to see the Furies, you instead see the Warriors, which is fun. You also see the members start missions with bats, which is a cool touch. I really do like this game and have been playing it since I was young. It's sad to see that this game series has died. I'm not hopeful they will ever come back to this game with titles like GTA and Red Dead Redemption in their catalog that bring in tons of revenue. Just like all of their other titles like Bully, it will forever be forgotten. There was originally going to be a spiritual successor to the Warriors game called We Are the Mods, but nothing ever came of it. I've been always wanting something else to crave my fill of beating gangs down. I'm sure I'll be continuing my visits to Coney Island for years to come. I hope you get something out of this and comment on anything I missed or you would like to see. Thanks, like and subscribe.